This meeting to order. All right. We've got an agenda. Is there any additions? Seeing none, can I get someone to, yeah, Board Member Hunter moves. All in favor? Good. Okay. In our package, you would have seen the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review those? Want to move them? Okay. Board Member Brooke moves. Acceptance of the minutes. All in favor? Carried. I don't think we need introductions today. Looks like we've got a regular gang. We do have a delegation coming in. They're booked for 11:45?
Yes.
Okay. Battle River Research Group will be in at 11:45. All right, we'll jump into 6.1. Rob, will you lead us in this, in your report?
Perfect. Yeah, good morning. Yeah, so right now we're working on our spring preparations. We're well underway. We've got our chem plan and stuff that'll be coming to the April 22nd council meeting for approval for that order. We're looking at next week to start tying into the water wells and getting those fired up, just basic operations. So we do have access to that soon. And then we'll be bringing the Connex RFD to council as well for the monitoring systems. So we should hopefully have that all tied in by, I'm thinking, the beginning of May, as far as if everything goes according to plan there.
If I could interrupt, when you say bring it to council, what?
Just like the actual monitoring systems, and then we have a policy around how we'll be sort of administering it or whatever. It was recommended that I bring it forward to council as well. So,
okay. What about when? Which council meeting?
April 22nd. Is that? Yeah.
Okay, we're having agenda setting today.
Yeah.
We'll put that on the agenda. Okay, thank you.
And then Strychnine, we'll have discussion on that later. There's quite a bit of debate back and forth. We had a meeting with the province, so we'll go into more detail later in the meeting on that. Grain bag collections. There's a bunch of farmers that have touched base again. Things are drying up, so we've got about another 15 to collect on Thursday or Friday this week. So that just keeps ticking along, which is good. Catalysts, the mapping updates, things like that. We've actually managed to try it, went back and forth on a few changes. They've been pretty quick in their responses with us this time. So I'm pretty confident the system's going to work. And so far it looks pretty awesome. So excited about that. And then, yeah, I think I'd mentioned before that we toured the Starland County tank loaders for the Connex system, and they're really happy with that. So spray truck software, we're still kind of in the middle of that. I'm hoping over the next couple of weeks. We've been going back and forth, but I think we're getting close to where it should have a lot of, I don't know, basically push button features. A lot of things we're paying for in those spray trucks that we've been doing a lot of paper documentation. I think we can pretty much transfer it all over to digital and make it a lot easier for the operator on the go, so that we don't have to stop and constantly be filling and filing paperwork. So should save us a lot of time and effort. And again, the nests, those are all set up at operations. The ice did shift a little bit and turned a couple of them, but all in all, they look pretty decent. Seasonal hiring, we're still short a couple, so fingers crossed we find them in the next week. So, and then as well,
Rob, I was just curious. So, was there not many applicants?
Maybe quality ones. Just in some of the positions we have to hire, we just don't want to take a risk that we're gonna have the wrong person in a spray truck.
Because you're spraying and so on. Okay.
Yeah. So if we have to fill the gaps, or I gotta hop behind the wheel, that's just what we'll do until we get what we need there. So, yeah. And then on March 26th, we'd attended the Battle River AGM and presentation there as well. I know there'll be some discussion around that later, I would imagine. I know there was kind of mixed reviews there. So, and then as far as our bait stations, we've filled and refilled them. We're having really mixed results with Rosol, whether they're actually eating it or not. So it's kind of been about a 30% uptake, I would say, from all our bait stations across the board. So we'll be reviewing those again this week to see how they actually worked. So, and then the weed matrix and communications for the notices and that this summer. I think we have most of that sorted around, so we're pretty confident that all our communications and things like that should be fairly timely and well represented. And then as well, later we'll be talking about the weeds on well sites. There'll be a little bit around that because it's a fairly hot topic, and I think we have a sort of a short window to deal with that because it is in a 1-year review type phase. So, and then what else? We have shelter belt workshop. We had 47 people show up to that. It was well attended. The reviews were really good. The feedback, everybody was quite happy with that. So that's encouraging. Environmental farm plans, I think moving forward, because this one was in collaboration with Battle River Research. It wasn't very well attended. You never want more than like 7 to 10 people in one of those anyways, but I think moving forward, just based on the numbers, we're going to try and line those up with like maybe 1 or 2 people, and they just come in and we sit and do it a little more hands-on. So that'll look a little different moving forward. The crop disease workshop in Lacombe, there was 46 registrants for that one. That one we kind of were part of more at arm's length or whatever. We funded a little bit there, but yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to get back up a bit. That weeds on the well site, orphan wells.
Yep.
Does orphan well pay you?
Yeah, see that's so, and we will get into it later.
Okay,
but
no, I just
and that's basically the context of it now. They've bridged the gap between the Pest Act and everything else. There'll be funding there to actually enforce and send it through orphan wells.
so they want to pay us, or do they want to pay
Well,
a private guy?
like essentially we would be issuing the notices or whatever, and there'd either be contractors that do it or whatever, but we're able to like get the ball rolling so that they can actually be taken care of, because in the past there was nobody to pay. Like you give a notice to the man on the moon or whatever, and it would just sit there. So at least this way there's actually funding in the background. So
Thank you.
There's it is on the agenda at 10.2. Do you want to?
Oh, okay, I can wait till 10.2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was part of that mature asset strategy piece
Yeah.
too that we worked through.
Okay, where are we at? Yeah, and as far as the educational ag tour, everything there is lining up actually really well. So that again is May the 28th, and it looks like we'll have about 158 students for that, and most of the final details are in there. We may hit up the board for volunteers closer to the date, but we'll see who wants to be part of that, and we'll reach out. The CAP programs, we have one more presentation to do, and then that's 220 students that we presented to, and it was very well received. We probably had a little too much fun doing it. It was really good. So
Will you do up a report at conclusion of these events for us?
oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Once it's all done, we'll do a pretty extensive one, especially on the educational ag tour, just kind of what went into it and the whole meat and potatoes costs, things like that. So
I think you mentioned to me that the safety presentation, at times you aren't you aren't active in it, other than
yeah,
if you get notice, you'll let us know as an ASB board if those occur. Is that correct? Or will
like
you
in the past, they really haven't connected with us till the end of
Okay.
the year. Like I could touch
Okay.
base and maybe try and
That's
bridge
fine,
that
as
gap.
long as it's an end of year report for myself.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
I discussed with them about actually coming in to present closer to the end of the year too, because it is a pretty substantial contribution. So, and then I think that's kind of what we have going on right now. Just getting ready for spring and that. So it all seems quick and easy, but it takes a bit of time. So yeah, that's
Any questions for Rob? Board Member Brooke?
Just wondering how the CAP program went with the kids at school. Well received?
really well received. Yeah, they had a lot of fun. Well, the premise for this year was we gummy bears was the topic, and so basically everything that's in a gummy bear comes from the farm, where it comes from, the process that goes into actually making a gummy bear, and then we had Canadian gummy bears too. So they really enjoyed that. Just
Great.
how it all tied together. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions? Can I have someone move Rob's report is for information? Or,
I'll move that we receive the report for information.
thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. All right. In our package, 7.1, I wrote up a short report from when I listened in on the ADM. Jared, can you just roll to that? Trying to, or it's not there? Sorry, I should have mentioned that. Here it is. Is there any questions of myself? Clint listened in. Rob did as well. Any questions about that report? Board Member Brooke?
I guess the whole structure of how it's going to be rolled out is still in discussion, is it?
Strychnine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's 10.1, right, Rob? We'll get
Yeah.
into kind of more.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get right into that.
Seeing no questions, can I have someone move that? Board Member
I'll move
Stevens?
that we receive for information.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor? Carried. I didn't receive any requests for information. So business arising from the minutes, 9.1, a request for decision, strategic plan, page 13.
Yeah, so we've kind of went back and forth since January on the strategic plan. I had planned to have it in the last meeting, but apparently there were some edits and changes and things they wanted to review just around vision, mission statement, and value statements, things like that. So they got a little clarification, and we are okay to have those in our board strategic plan. I don't know how you guys want to go through it, or if you've had a chance to review much of it in the interim.
What is the wishes of the board regarding, would you like Board Member Brooke?
I looked over it and, well, it looks good now. I did talk to Rob about a few minor changes, but other than that, I thought it's called kind of bread and butter, basic type of vision and stuff. So I thought it was good.
Thank you. If there's no request to step through it, I'd take a motion. Board Member.
I have a question. It's page 19. So support research and pilot projects to test and evaluate innovative practices that improve agricultural outcomes. And I know that we've have this further on our agenda, but if that's our goal, and it seems to be ranked as the highest priority in Pillar E, what fashion are we going to be pursuing that goal? I mean, Lacombe research is presumably, unless there's a chain shutting down, we have mixed feelings and mixed involvement with Battle River research. So are we going to start doing it on private research, or will we get involved in corporate research? Because we're running out of government run programs. So if that's our top ranked goal, should it be our top ranked currently?
Well, and we can definitely discuss and who we want to actually use as our, like, what research groups we're funding. There are a few like foothills in that there are, kind of within our peripherals as well. And I think moving forward, it'd probably be in our best interest to actually meet and get to know what these groups are doing and what the dollars and cents look like. Because I know like industry definitely fills the gap, for a lot of it. But I mean, is it unbiased research? You never quite know. So it is nice to have our hands in it. But again, is what we're paying for getting us the outcome that we're actually looking for? And I think from an ag department perspective, like we we probably can't fully dive into the research. There's a lot in the background as far as equipment, things like that, to say that we're going to be doing a bunch of field plots and really extensive projects ourselves. But I think definitely if we are going to be moving forward, we do want to make that a priority. We either have to decide what's our level of funding and really whoever's doing it, what are those outcomes? So that we know that, okay, at the end of the research, was there a tangible benefit that I can take home to impact my farm? And if there's not, well, there probably are other areas we could spend our focus.
Board Member Clark?
It's just sometimes you gotta be careful, and part of this might be you get out of something what you put into it too.
Yeah.
So, we need to be careful as we're looking at these, whatever test plots or whatever projects we're looking on, and we need to put maybe something other than just financial into it to try and get the outputs that we want. So that's just a heads up, and that could be somebody from our board or, you know, somebody we appoint to their board type of thing. So I do think we need to be careful on which projects we do. It's just not a financial thing, and are we getting things that would help our producers?
Board Member Hunter?
Yeah, I kind of agree with John Ireland was saying. Like, I think Lacombe might get shut down partially, but I can't see him closing it, is what his statement, especially when they're putting 14 million right now into the HVAC system over there. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, Justin. I know. You think they're still gonna close it when they're still dumping that much money into it? Uh-oh, I got 2 smiles on each side there. I'm in trouble.
Since I got asked the question, I'll jump the queue. I think you grossly underestimate our federal government's ability to spend money, whether it's valuable or not.
That is totally agreed. That's exactly ditto.
Board Member Brooke?
I was just thinking, I know there's some other counties in the past have tried a little bit of sort of research, but to do real research, it's so bloody expensive that not just including the small equipment to do in plots, but mostly they did was demonstration. This was the county of Camrose probably 15, 20 years ago. And they did it for a few years, and then they went back and actually started funding Battle River again.
Thank you. Board Member Nielsen?
So, you know, I do a lot of research, and the small plot stuff. Well, first of all, there's no such thing as unbiased research, and if we're looking for that, you're not going to find it. And the small plots isn't, you know, you see all these people doing small plots, and yeah, it's intensive. It takes a lot of equipment, takes a lot of costs, and I think the value of them is pretty minimal. On-farm research is a lot more valuable, and utilizing, you know, a Battle River research group to gather that data, and it takes a lot of effort to make a protocol that's accepted as actual research, and you need to have somebody to facilitate that for on-farm. You know, I love doing on-farm research, but you have to have the protocols established for it to be accepted, for papers to be written about it, and all that sort of stuff. So it's not very easy to just say, as a county, we're going to start doing on-farm research. It's not. It's very, very difficult. And, you know, the bang for our buck, we'll get into this probably later, but I mean, it's very expensive. And if we can have a third party like Battle River or something be able to facilitate that, I think that is absolutely the way to go. And we should be doing more of it, because the more research we do that's local to our county, the more value we get out of it. And you're not going to get results in 1 year. Most things are going to take 3, 5, 10 years maybe to really get a good result out of. It's a long, long game. And if you stop doing it, the long-term effects of that hurt for, you know, you can't turn these things on a dime.
Thank you. We entered this discussion, Board Member Stevens, with the discussion around E1.1. Your thoughts on that after the discussion?
I would be fine with it if we just tweaked the wording where it was something along the lines of research and evaluate the where we get the most value from research and pilot projects. I mean, we have a bunch of discussions about various topics and various organizations. I think one of the best ones is when you can get called doing these research projects. I think the scrutiny there is quite good, and when you have college classes doing a research project, if we could facilitate that, I think the value would be high for pretty low cost, being that the bulk of your labor is students. So if we added some sort of nod to a value criteria on our research projects, I would be more supportive.
Board Member Nielsen.
So again, we do a lot with colleges, and the time that a student comes out and actually does something is pretty much never. Colleges are so overrun with protocols, whether it's for people or even animals, nothing gets done. Like it's government bureaucracy and slow moving at its finest. So those kind of things are very, very difficult to do. I know it sounds good and it should work, but man, it's a many-year frustrating process.
Board Member Brooke.
Well, considering the amount of resources we have to devote to it, I kind of like the idea of the support research, because support can take the form of many things. It could be aiding and helping, could also be just the financial addition that the $10,000, right? So I kind of like it the way it is now, because it shows generally what we're doing, that's our bent, but it's not actually saying we're doing the research ourselves.
I don't know.
I sense, Rob, what I'm hearing is the statement is fine. What's possibly missing is, our involvement, somehow value added, words, something like that might, if we could add a little bit, am I capturing that right, Board Member Burns?
That would be my preference, but I mean, it's a majority decision. I just think we're going to be discussing in two different spots in the agenda where we think our best value is. We might as well lay that out in our strat planning, that
Mhm.
this is not just a blanket, here's a check for everyone that's doing it. We need to have some sort of evaluation process.
Board Member Clark.
Just a comment on strat plans. Those strat plans are pretty high level subjects, and then you got to put the meat and potatoes underneath them as you work through your strat plan. So I do think that we definitely need to put it into projects that we see some value out of, and some, I guess we won't see value out, but you don't know until you did the project. But it is one of those things where you can't list every step that you're going to do on a strat plan, because that's something that could be your next year's plan is what that falls into.
Fair enough.
Rob?
Yeah, like, I don't know, kind of from what I'm gathering is I think moving forward, if we're working with these research groups and things, like maybe we should be coming up with a little bit more of a criteria and a process on how we evaluate the groups we're working with, what their outcomes are going to be, and maybe dig a little bit deeper throughout the year as far as like what are those details going to look like, so we can actually sit down and agree, and maybe we have 3 of these groups and we can sit in side by side and maybe meet with them and come up with something a little bit more tangible and realistic to them. Like some of these guys might just come back with responses that we only do small plots, and that's where our funding's at, because there's so many things at play as far as how they get their funding. Like it's good for us to say, hey, we want to do on-farm research and trials and things like that, but a lot of their backing may be specifically do a certain grant that allows X or whatever. So I think Yeah, maybe that's what I'll look into, trying to create something a little more, like a little more of a framework as far as how we're evaluating the research groups and things like that. Like we'll have him come in today and do his presentation, and then from there we'll kind of review and see what it actually looks like for us. Because right now I think there's quite a few different opinions or whatever, but it'd be nice to maybe get something a little more formal as far as the process and how we're doing it. Because there's a lot of debate after the fact, and we are giving them $10,000, but I'm not sure that we're completely happy with the results, or that we've even really had much input on the results. So I think moving forward, at least that way we'll know this is their criteria, and kind of lay it out a little bit better. So
Board
Yeah.
Member Clark?
It's, but as you work through this, there's a lot of work to do within a strat plan that's this big. But like under ASB integration, establish multi-year pasture weed control test plots, wormwood, publish methods and annual findings. That's taken us forward. Nobody's really did this before.
Yeah.
All people do is recommend a chemical that a supplier's recommended that's going to be outdated next year, and there's going to be a different chemical on the table. And it's frustrating when you're looking at, the price, the high price per acre, if you're trying to spray that, and you may as well be doing something else to it. You'd get as much good out of it spraying water on it in some cases. So I think as you work through pieces like that, that's things that we can work on as a ASB that's very valuable to our area. And same as a lot of our other noxious weeds, if we concentrate on what works best and try to get that out versus just a blanket approach. Because the last time wormwood was thrown out or absent, it was really just a blanket thing. There was 2 different suggested chemicals. The suppliers would argue with you on the chemicals that were recommended, saying that that wasn't probably the best service that we had. So we need to make sure when we go forward this time that we've got an approach that's going to work, pending weather and things like that.
A good discussion, or Board Member Stevens?
One other topic on the emergency livestock response, the chutes, the panels. I mean, at a basic level, yeah, we need some minimal provisions for sure. You have a liner rollover, we need to be able to respond in some fashion. But I kind of like what our regional emergency management is doing, not so much on the animal side, but they invested some considerable time finding out what local assets there is. So, and it was reaching out to private companies, private landowners in the event of an emergency. Do you have facilities we could use or rent, or in a large scale emergency, say a large scale fire, for example? We've seen multiple of those. I mean, we can't provide enough assets. We can't afford to provide enough assets to cover when multiple farms are evacuating all their livestock. And the only way we can do it is getting help from others. And I mean, we have a lot of pretty large, pretty well-run farms who I'm sure could chip in a large-scale emergency. They would even get funding. So maybe coming up with a bit of a list of what there is for local assets would be helpful.
Rob?
Yeah, so when I was with Big Lakes, that was kind of something that we had set up. Like we had our trailer with panels or whatever, and realistically, like there was some funding at the time. That's why we did it. But what we found is like I eventually just had a list of farmers and what they had for assets and things like that, and we kind of valued the assets. So it's like if I take your panels out, we know those panels are worth $10,000, and that was just a risk we were kind of willing to take. That if they got smashed, we were replacing those panels. But we did have a fairly active list, and people could kind of go to and from that list or whatever. But I tried to cover almost every pocket of the county, and it was fairly easy to make it happen, because generally guys are looking out for each other, and it had a bigger impact. Like I don't know that if there was a problem, and we did have some, that it wasn't easier just to get those farmers involved, to use those assets. Like 'cause I don't know that even to date that the trailer and panels that are in the yard up north have ever been used. The only time it moves is to get new tires and wheel bearings. So it really, that is the reality of it. And thankfully it hasn't been. There hasn't been a bunch of emergencies, but you're probably going to lean on that farmer that's right there, especially if you have them on a list, and they're, I mean, they're skilled already, right? So
So I I really like that. And the one comment I'll make is if we could share this list once it's compiled with Clint and his
Yeah.
team, then I think we've closed the loop on communication.
Board Member Clark.
And even to extend that a little further than just the producers in our area, I think some of the local municipalities specialize in some of those pieces. When we talk through emergency management, I think Painter had quite a set of panels and stuff too, so that's part of that conversation. But it's just, it's what's your minimum and what do we need to go forward and what do you need with them? Because chances are emergency services would be included in a lot of these, so unless it was an SPCA type deal or something like that, you had to get involved with.
Yeah.
And I would add one other group besides local producers, and that's our ag societies. Large facilities. Some of the strongest volunteer groups in our county are our ag societies. So in the event, that's probably someone you can lean on.
So what I'm hearing around the table, Rob, is possibly I'll call it tightening E1.1 a little bit around cost effectiveness, that evaluation, and the last item, the last bullet around the livestock response, that we maybe add a sentence around interacting with the county emergency response, making sure we're all aligned. Something like that. Would that? Yeah. All right. That was a good discussion. Any other discussion around the strategic plan? If not, maybe someone could move it with those amendments.
I'll move the strat plan with the amendments as discussed.
And I should have added, this will be taken to council now, so you'll move it for presentation to council. Is that my understanding? Or not?
I don't think it hurts for this first one.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
clarification.
Okay.
I do think it's part of it's written.
Yes, yes.
What might be just a kind of a review.
I assume that ASB has the authority for over this, but I mean, it never hurts just to loop in for communication.
ASB does have the ability to pass their own strat plan. You can put it on an information item for council at a meeting, but it's up to ASB to pass it.
It would have been nice if you gave us that information a minute or so ago.
Well, I wasn't sleeping, but I was just listening to the conversation.
Thank you.
All right, so we do have a motion on the floor to accept the strat plan with a couple of amendments. Any more discussion? All in favor? Carried. And we will put it on the agenda, I guess, of council for information. All right. Next item, 9.2, page 20. A letter's been crafted regarding the closure of the Lacombe Research and Development Center. And as I understand, it's ready for my signature.
Right.
Okay. Any, I think we, if I recall from our minutes, we decided we were going to do this. And we're ready to do it, I guess. I'll sign it today, unless there's any concerns. I don't think we need a motion because we made a motion, I think a month ago to send it. So do we just accept this for information or? Okay. Okay. Board Member Clark accepts the letter to Agriculture for information. 9.3, response to resolution. Oh, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 9.3, response to resolution 4.26. So this is the response. It was an ASB resolution. So now we need to decide next steps. I did, Clint Walker and I ended up in a conversation with Minister Hunter at RMA, and he may have been in the room, but hadn't been copied on the correspondence. So there was some thoughts that our ASB could refer him that information. I'm not sure if that's worth their time or not. Board Member Clark.
We've dealt with Minister Hunter and a few things on water now, and water, you know, the interesting part with water, the funding does fall under transportation. And he has been informed on multi-lot subdivisions we need water for, we need agriculture. I don't think a letter's hurt, but I really think maybe if we're going to do it, we should partner with, like we do have an application in currently to partner with Flagstaff to get water to the northern part of the community, or pardon me, not Flagstaff, to Paintearth County. And to get water into both sides. So maybe if we sent letters in also on that, you know, with those projects, it's all agriculture producers that would be getting tied in, or rural residents on acreages or farms. So it would be maybe just another voice in there from the ASB, but he's certainly been hearing the voices on water and trying to get this rural water out. And we received a letter back on a subdivision at the lake that was really has been frustrating over it, because he's been the one that sat through all the commission work that Yvette and I've been attending. So that's it might help.
Board Member Stevens.
I'm not sure how much value there is in letter writing. I would love to have an in-person meeting with him myself. I am extremely frustrated at the response that he gave regarding Buffalo Sands. He more or less threw us under the bus, suggesting the reason why we didn't get grant funding was because we never applied for a grant that we're not eligible for, that he knows we're not eligible for, and that makes it our fault. And it's not much of a partnership when you blatantly ignore the eligibility that we've been lobbying for years to get fixed. He is well aware of that. Yvette has had multiple conversations about this eligibility. We've met with RMLA, we've met with Dreeshen, we've had more requests to meet with Dreeshen, we've met with Municipal Affairs Minister, as well as the predecessor and the one before that, because I think we've talked with Schultz, McIver, and Dan Williams about this. For them to say that they're unaware is either negligent or a bold-faced lie. I don't think letter writing moves the needle on this one. And it's hard to have a partnership when you are promptly thrown under the bus.
Board Member Clark.
Just one other ministry that has been very aware of this is agriculture. Minister Sorgensen, we've had many discussions over this very item, and the reply on some of these is really frustrating me from the new Minister of Municipal Affairs. But I think we need to do something go forward.
Can you roll to, I'm not sure where it is, the actual response, the letter. Yeah, it's keep moving down a little bit. Yeah, so this at present paragraph, we're painfully aware of that. It's odd that he put that in it's exactly what we're trying to change, right? Yeah, we know that. So
Municipal scale is not a thing. It's an empty phrase that means nothing. If you're a hamlet with a population of 10, that's municipal scale. If it's a rural water line that supports 20 farms, that's not municipal scale. If it feeds a subdivision with 90 lots, that's not municipal scale. So that word municipal is a title that has no value or meaning, and that is something that they don't seem to understand.
Board Member Clark.
Background on water and water commissions is the County of Camrose backed out of the Shirley McClellan or the Highway 1221, Yvette may correct me on that. I think it was 1221 where they would have been tied into, but they wanted to go to Pelican Point and tried every angle to get to Pelican Point, but it not being a summer village, it didn't have that status. So the water could not be ran there with any grant funding whatsoever. So we're kind of in the same boat with our subdivision. So I don't know if it's a re-education for all the ministers, but we've been in this for a long time trying to go through with this. And Yvette, how long ago was Pelican Point when Cameron's backed out?
Oh, probably 15 years ago. And the biggest problem with Pelican Point was it wasn't deemed a hamlet, regardless of the population and the land area. It was not deemed a hamlet, so they would not fund. And then they left us, went to Highway 1221. 1221 took over our fight and didn't get anywhere either. So Pelican Point still cannot get a distribution line or a transmission line into that subdivision.
So we had this resolution through ASB. Had there been previous resolutions on this topic?
Yeah, there's been resolutions through RMA, but through ASB, over the years for water, there definitely is. And it could be non-potable irrigation water by pipes that were supplied to farms too. So I don't think it's new, but typically, I think the last letters we've been sending in of that have been to transportation because of the funding, agriculture, and also municipal affairs, haven't they?
Right, I think environment's been included on that.
Yeah.
But what we could do is I can get Nikki to request an in-person meeting with Hunter, maybe Nate and Dreeshen if he's around. And we just get in a truck and go to Edmonton.
If you could do that, I would certainly be game for that.
Okay.
Any other thoughts around the room? And would we make a motion on that, Yvette, asking you to do that?
Yeah, that would be great, and we'll just get that going right away.
I'll make a motion to direct administration to set up a meeting with the relevant ministers in Edmonton, if possible, and we will drive to them as we do and take trinkets. So don't put that in the. Okay. Thank you.
Any discussion about that motion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. New business, 10.1, strychnine update, page 25.
All right. Excuse me. As you guys have all heard, there's been an emergency use registration for 2% liquid strychnine till November the 1st, 2027. They're just doing the rollout now. We had a meeting yesterday that gave us a few more details, and I think the more frustrated I got, the more my scribbles became illegible. But so far, it looks like the first that we'll be able to actually acquire strychnine is going to be probably the beginning of June. And there's an application window for strychnine till about June the 15th. And it looks like from the amount they were able to import, it's the equivalent of 800 cases, which if you do the math on 49 municipalities, it's 19,200 bottles. That gives us 390 bottles. One bottle does an acre in the first rollout. So I don't know in the second go round how their volumes are going to change, but I foresee some very frustrated people because the totals and volumes just aren't really realistic for what we would call a rollout, because somebody's going to get one bottle in 1 acre. Like it's going to be a really frustrating process in the first go round. So maybe they should have just held off till the July start for when you can apply it the second time, and maybe we could add larger volumes there. But again, those details are kind of coming out, but we're definitely very limited on the first round. So they also haven't clarified whether you can have carryover. So on the first 800 cases, like maybe after that they have 3,000 cases, whatever it is, they haven't specified whether in that second round, whether you can carry over product to the following spring to try and like accumulate enough volume to actually do anything yet. So there was a lot of questions yesterday and things they did not have answers for. They did have answers for the training. As of the beginning of May, first few days into May, farmers will be able to do the training online. So we won't have to, I was thinking originally we'd probably have to do the training, and that's kind of what they thought, but it sounds like they have a pretty good online setup there to let producers do it. There's a 2-day delay. Apparently, once you get your certificate online, it takes a couple days to actually have that active in the system. So if you do it, you can't just come in because your information won't be there. A really discouraging conversation around it was that if you're the owner producer of the farm, you're the one person that can take that course and get that certificate. So if you have, your son, whether they're 40 years old and they're partners in the farm, they're not applying strychnine under the way they've aligned it right now. If you're a large corporate farm with, say, a board of directors, well, technically you're not the primary farmer, and the way they've defined it is you would have to have a licensed applicator do it for you or get your license to actually do it. So yeah, there's definitely some issues as far as how a person will administer it. Like if you're, 80-year-old farmer, I'm not sure you're out in the field, but right now that's who would be authorized to do it on your farm without putting people through further training, and that would be the full applicator training where you write the exams through Olds or whatever and or through Lakeland and go through that process. So what it looked in the beginning to be a bit of a home run, it's very, very limited right now. So we'll have to see how they plan to administer it, because we have issues with bottles and disposal because we don't have the same setups at the landfills as far as like with clean farms at the landfills. So now if you have these strychnine bottles, really I'm sure that the retailers, like for ourselves, we don't really want to get the bottles back. I don't want 19,000 empty bottles. So they haven't really made a plan for where those are going to go or if they're going to go in the landfill. Realistically, because they're pesticides, they should be going to, the UFAs of the world or whatever, but I wouldn't be on par with that, having kids with now we got 1,000 strychnine bottles floating around. I've seen how those spill just from my own experience in the private sector. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of gray area so far, and I think there's going to be, from the 100+ producers that have phoned me since I've had over 100 calls, probably closer to 200 calls actually, but I can definitely see there'll be some frustration on how we're going to roll it out. And they haven't even if we had larger volumes, they haven't really specified how. They said there's going to be restrictions on how many you can get. They haven't really clarified what the threshold is, like how many gophers per acre or Richardson's ground squirrels per acre. They haven't specified that detail yet. So it's there's a whole ton of unknowns. I think they were honestly a little bit shocked in our meeting yesterday how many unknowns that they had. Like they really didn't have a lot of good questions, which made you really scratch your head how they thought this was going to roll out in the way that it is, and if it's really a 2026 plan or a spring of 2027 plan, assuming they can get the volume. So I'm anticipating some very frustrated phone calls in the very near future. So,
Board Member Stevens?
2 comments, and one is, how are we going to ration this? We know the demand is going to far exceed our inventory, what we're going to be able to get our hands on. So do we have any suggestions, either Rob or the board, as to how we ration this? Because no matter how we do it, there's going to be a pile of pissed off people.
and that was the question we had. Well, I mean, originally we thought that the volumes would line up. Like, so I have an RFD going to council to adjust the budget, to 100,000, because you'll bring it in, you'll sell it, it'll offset. But I don't even know if that's even realistic that we get those volumes now, but I don't know what round 2 is going to look like. And actually trying to give it out, like in my mind, we have a list of historic numbers kind of, you know, where producers were at and what they ordered, and I was going to try and maybe align it with some type of average based off historically what was done in the last rounds. I think the populations are higher now, so those numbers would be higher now. But as far as the perfect scenario, I mean, even in the last 5 years, farming's changed. A lot of those farmers that might have been 1,000 acres, now they're 3,000 acres. There's been a lot of changes that have happened too. So it's really hard to put a pinpoint exactly what we would limit them to. And again, the province hasn't given us the details to say, hey, 1,000 bottle limit is like the emergency use limit. They haven't given us those details yet to say who and what the total would be during the whole time. So I'm up for suggestions for sure.
Board Member Brook.
I'm just wondering, did they mention anything about how they're going to audit it or who's doing the audit?
Well, they are increasing staff numbers for the next year, and they will have auditors and inspectors that come out. I don't know what that's going to look like or how they're going to prove it. Like it's easy to say, but I mean, if you hire another 10 people, that's like a drop in the bucket. Like they're not going to cover the amount of acreage that's out there, but that is their goal. But essentially, like it will be the counties that have all the, like we're going to house all the paperwork for all of it. Like somebody's going to show up with a certificate, and we're going to verify that, yeah, you're Mr. Farmer. And we have to go through the steps to ensure you've taken this much, you're doing all the reporting and things like that, right? So it basically falls on us to administer almost the whole program.
I'm just gonna step.
Pretty darn
Board-
onerous, it seems like.
Board Member Hunter.
What they say about, if I want to buy something, I have to take a course?
Yeah, there'll be an online course. I think it's about an hour. It's not,
Oh, I'm going to be online?
it'll be online. Yeah, and there's been some discussion if there are certain limitations or whatever, if we would administer beyond that or help people get through it. So, but the goal is right now to do it online.
That was one of my feelings, if we had to put on a course, right?
Yeah,
That, if you took the course and those people took the course, you're the first people that could buy it. But now online, I don't know how you could do that. You can't really
yeah.
know who signed up for what, and you don't have a record who phoned in, like from top to bottom.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I have
you
it
do?
in order. Oh, yeah, of
So
phone
could
first to
you
phone last.
use that order that you got phone calls on?
I
To me, that'd be pretty fair.
I think so, but what do you do with I guess the person that just shows up? Yeah,
I don't,
yeah, no,
I'm just spitballing there.
yeah.
I was hoping that we'd have to take a in-house course. If I signed up for it, that I'd get my foot in the door, but
Right.
that's not gonna happen, so. Okay,
And just on that too, there's maybe one or two producers that didn't phone you because they were in the front office the morning that was announced. And Elizabeth was scrambling, and I had walked in and said we would get back out to our producers with what was going to happen. So I think you might really have some people screaming if you go off a list where their name isn't on that list, or I'll tell you who their names were, but they were large producers. But if we're only going to be able to give like 4 or 5 bottles out, it is going to be a very tough road for whoever's like ASB distributing this, because there is going to be some aggravated people. I think if that's the case, we better get our rules out well ahead of when we receive the item.
Yeah.
You know, receive it in hand to start handing it out so people are aware.
Board Member Nielsen.
Well, a bit of the saving grace for the pressure might be the fact that it's going to be so late
Yeah.
to start, right? I mean, that's too late for a lot of cereal crops being planted. You're already going to have the damage. So maybe the pressure won't be quite as much as we fear. Like if they would have rolled it out where we could start now or in the beginning of May, yeah, everybody's going to want to get that down before you start seeding. But man, not be able to start till June, that's late.
Which date what's your kind of optimistic date, and maybe the pessimistic date as well? Rob?
Honestly, it's looking like the first week of June is when we'll actually have it in our hands. And then that only leaves you like 2 weeks because the window is to June 15th. Like you're not supposed to apply after that in the actual window. So
I see. So just so I understand, you're hoping to get product first week of June?
Yep.
And the way the new regulation is wrote, that you can only apply it up until June 15th.
Yeah, and then it'll be the third week of July, I believe, is when you can start to the late season application, which nobody's going to be really applying then. Anyways, it's going to be really tough. I mean, some pasture maybe, but
What's the reason behind the application windows?
that's a good question because they don't really have an answer for exactly why, other than they had to get the emergency use approved. They had to create certain parameters and tighten up the program. Like there were just certain things they said, hey, this is too loose. We're not, that's why they didn't do it earlier in the year. So they came back with the training protocols. They shrunk the map down on how many counties could be involved. And then they shortened the application window, and that checked a few of the boxes that allowed them to actually get the approval. So I don't know that it was specifically science-based or, hey, this is the conversation and we want to get it approved. So we're just shortening and creating this window.
Because it's like capture gophers are hibernating by August, right? The males are gone.
Yeah.
And so you end up probably with more problems of unintentional poisonings when the gophers aren't actually up eating.
Yeah, like
It seems weird.
I mean, there is some support for like late season applying for like, you know, the adolescents and controlling that population. But as far as like dollars input and time, you're never going to beat spring. Like it's exponentially better to do it in the spring. So the risk reward, I don't know, from a producer perspective, I don't know that it's really worth the risk to even want to put it down this year. I'd rather have an abundance so I can hit it hard in the spring and know that I'm actually going to get the outcomes. Because right now, when the outcomes are lower, it's like now we're risking the program and any adverse reactions to the program without actually getting the results that we'd hope to have on the farm. That would be my view on it. Like I know it's rolled out in 2026, but I'm not even sure how effective it'll be. And then
Board Member Stevens?
So I think everyone here, as well as other ASBs, would all agree this volume is a drop in the bucket compared to what we need to actually get ahead of this problem after being put on the back burner for multiple years with other products that had extremely mixed results. Would it be fair to start communicating now our request to increase the volume for next year? I mean, I don't want to wait till spring of 27 to say we're surprised you didn't increase the volume after last year. Would it be wise to start communicating that now that we this is a bit of a slow moving train wreck in my mind, both in the quantity and the timing of it. And something else that caught me off guard was producer purchase limits will be based on infestation thresholds and affected areas. Stockpiling or inflating acreage could risk program continuation or product availability. So you've advertised that it's available for 2 years, but there's no product available year one. But if you stockpile in the 1 year it's available, then we'll never give it to you again. Like you're practically begging the producers to stock up and then threatening them if they do the only logical thing at their disposal.
yeah,
Board Member Clark?
Yeah, and it's just there was talk about the not sure of the carryover piece. So I think that's one piece that needs to be dealt with, is either the carryover by us as a distributor for this, or the carryover by the producer, because just with what was said there, we're trying to convince people to do something that they're not supposed to be doing. So, and which is which makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the question is definitely out there. Like the province is going to be sending out emails with we had a whole list of questions for them that they can answer. So over the next few days here, they're hoping to respond in some emails to a lot of those questions. So again, we'll have to just, as we get the info, kind of put it out there, because right now yeah, they just don't have what the production limits are going to be. I was going to reach out to Agrimax and see what they've kind of aligned maybe for goals. They've been pretty good to touch base with. That's a producer that's going to be making it there in Saskatchewan, and see what kind of maybe their target numbers are going to be, because right now it's sort of a drop in the bucket. Like, if the numbers are just going to align that each round is like 800, like you might as well not even be involved. Like at that point. But
Just another question too, when you talked about which people can take the test. And if it's that 80-year-old farmer and his 40, 50 or 60-year-old son is the one that's out doing the poisoning, and if he can't take the test, is that a criminal activity? If he's the one out doing the work, or does the responsibility fall back onto the person that took the test?
Well, the person, if you haven't taken the test, like there's fines of upwards of $50,000, right, to be breaking the rules. And as a corporation, it can be $50,000 to $500,000 in fines if you're caught breaking the rules. But at the same time, how do you get these people to actually administer the product? It's almost impossible at the volumes. Like in the past, you would have people on the farm working with you to get it done. And they haven't even clarified whether you can use staff on the farm to even just pick up the gophers that you're going to incinerate, right? So, because they want them buried 18 inches or incinerated. And they haven't specified whether those people can help with that process, or if it's just, okay, we blended the strychnine with the seed, put it in the hole, and that's me as the producer. I can do that, and then my staff or family, whatever, could pick up gophers. They haven't clarified whether or not those people could be involved in that. That's another question they have to come back with, because if the producer has to do all of the work, I can tell you right now that there'll be gophers out or Richardson ground squirrels out in the field, and you'll be in breach of the rules and things like that. So there's a lot of risks involved with what they've come out here. Like, to say it was disappointing and that my writing got a little rougher as I went along, it's not really an understatement, because I thought we kind of hit a home run with this one, but it's not even really a bunt, I guess, at this point. But
Rob, do you think it makes sense for us to have some sort of initial communication now, get that out to our residents, producers, and then once it looks like we're due to have another ASB meeting, around the 20th of May. At that time, you'll know more, and maybe you'll bring a proposal back here around once you learn more, because I'm not sure what you actually put in a proposal when there's so many questions. Is that what would we put in the initial communication if we went that route? What can you say now that you're confident in?
Well, the training, definitely the producer training, that'll be launched the beginning of May. We can have that in there. As far as quantities, like, they're extremely limited. I mean, beyond that, like, what can we say? And we don't really know how. Like, I can't wrap my head around how I'm going to limit who's going to get it. Is everybody going to get one bottle or two? Like,
It's pretty easy.
So does that, from a board perspective, does that seem reasonable that the county ASB would send out an initial communication with few details, but some training? Don't expect a big supply. Are there any other topics we might discuss in an initial communication? Oh, thank you. Yeah, that'd be another one. And that would help a producer make a decision whether or not they want to take the training and even participate this year. And then tighter plan or a plan, I guess, would bring back to ASB for the next meeting, because that would be, let's assume it's the 20th.
Yeah.
It sounds like you'd still have, you'd get approval here for your plan, and you'd have time to get ready for June. Does that?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, because we're going to have to narrow down, like, I think, pickup times. I'm just thinking from a administrative perspective, there's really going to be, me and Farah, maybe one other person that can actually hand it out. So just, we can't, we're standing at the front counter waiting or whatever, right? Especially because we will have to be going through some paperwork. So maybe it'll be like a Tuesday, Thursday thing. I'm not sure yet, but we will have to limit that window somehow as well. So
Don't
Or-
worry, it'll be a singular window. It'll be cleaned
Or-
out.
yeah,
Or-
right
or-
now it'll just be one transaction.
Board Member Clark?
We did have it originally that it was in the mornings for 2 hours or something like that, where
Okay.
people could pick it up. And it did work well. But at that point we had it. We just have to be careful how we approach this too, because if we don't apply for the product, and just because we say it's a next year's project, then as they evaluate results this year, how badly did we actually need it if we didn't apply for product? So if we're not going to apply for product, we better have that very validated and upfront that we're looking into next year, and we're going to need a pile of it next year, because another year of gophers is just going to increase that population even more. So the problem areas are just going to get to be bigger areas and spread.
That's the other point for the initial communication is documentation of losses will be very important for the ability for this to be extended, as I understand.
Yeah, and part of like the list we were compiling there is we're going to be reaching out to these people to see exactly, what the damage is, what the thresholds kind of look like on their farm, so that we can present those numbers. So I actually have fairly realistic, like I can go off the historics, but I'd like to have something a little bit more current too, to send to the province on our behalf, to actually canvass them for the totals that we need. So yeah, that was kind of on the list.
Do we have any ideas around cost?
It was $12 a bottle before, and it looks like it's going to be about 25% more.
Do we have enough information to put it in this initial communication, or should we?
No, I think we'll wait, because they were worried if there were going to be any hiccups border wise or anything like that. Just the world is a little uncertain when it comes to bringing things in from India and things now. So they were a little hesitant, but they thought 20 to 25% increase in price would be.
And in the past, have as the county charged for the service at all? Like put any upcharge on that?
It's basically been at cost from what I've gathered. Yeah.
Okay.
Cost recovery for the product and for the labor.
Okay.
We've come full circle. If you want to talk about value-added research, crop damages and research around this product and demand and volume, I'm not sure if you could find a more popular research topic in our county than this one.
Board Member Clark?
And Rob, just a curiosity question. You say this is shipped to that that supplier in Saskatchewan. Does it come in 100% dose, or do you know what percentage it is in its raw
Well, it
product
comes in as seed from a
Oh.
tree, and they process the seed down.
in Saskatchewan?
Like the seed, yeah, they do that in
Okay.
Regina right there. Yeah. So it's
That's one hay seed you wouldn't want to be chewing on then.
no.
Just once.
Yeah, just once with. Yeah.
Okay, Rob, thank you for that information. Do you have what you need, do you think, to, what do you have in your notes there, maybe?
Yeah, like we're gonna put out an initial communication just about the training, the limited supply application window, and then there'll be I'll have a few more details in it by the time we get there or whatever, just so that people have a realistic picture that the spring application of this is pretty well negligible. And I'll try and get a little bit more tangible numbers, what round 2 will look like volume wise, so we can maybe ease a little bit of the tension around it. So
When are you hoping to get that communication out? When's reasonable?
assuming the province gets back to us as quick as they figured, which would be tomorrow, that would give us a bunch more detail.
Yeah.
I could probably have that out by Friday.
Give yourself another week or so. So this month?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. But it's just, I know we get a lot of calls, people that have called and then call again or whatever. So it would be nice to get something at least to answer a few of their questions. So, but
Board Member Stevens?
I'll make, I got 2 motions at the ready on this topic. One is to work on the communication plan with the public. I'll instruct administration to do that.
Any discussion on that motion? All in favor? Carried.
And then my next motion will be to write a letter. So you've been dealing with the province on this one, right?
Yep.
Write a letter to the ag minister and whatever, I guess, bureaucrats you've been dealing with to get this information, expressing our concern about the volumes and how we strongly encourage these volumes to go up drastically in the next intake.
Now, am I correct that, are you talking provincial?
Yeah. Should, my question to the board or to Rob is, should that go to the federal minister as well? I'm not sure. It's a mix and match on this one. Who is actually responsible? Because the federal government had to approve the emergency use, but the province sort of administers it. But the federal government, since it's imported, will be involved in allowing it to be imported. So maybe going to both would be beneficial.
Board Member Clark?
I just, with our grounding right now with the provincial government and everything we've been dealing through them, I question whether, like, I think it doesn't hurt for our federal ag minister to hear, but maybe it's better to try right now just to put it to our ag minister and his department to push that forward and have that information from us as producers. Just so we're not stepping around them also. I don't know from, Yvette, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would agree with those comments, Larry. They need to hear, and they need to hear from the people that it directly affects. Is that what you wanted me to say?
I wanted you to say what you thought.
I don't like gophers and I don't like strychnine, so I'm kind of a bad person to talk to.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Maybe just repeat that, that second one, please.
To instruct administration to send off a letter regarding volumes and our strong encouragement to drastically increase the volumes available.
Rob?
I wonder if we shouldn't recommend some amendment to the actual like application process, like who can administer this, like that you could delegate somebody on your farm who's also taking that. Like I feel like that one in my mind stuck out as a massive problem moving forward on how you'd actually get this on the ground. So maybe we'll have a little context in regards to that. But yeah,
I would be fine with adding that to my motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion about it? All in favor? Carried. All right, 10.2, weeds on well site. Page 27.
yeah. So as of May the 1st, the Weed Act and orphan wells will kind of be tied together a little bit, or there'll be the ability to access funds through orphan wells and the Weed Act. So what it does for us is it allows us to actually take steps moving forward in enforcement on abandoned wells, whereas in the past there wasn't funding available if we were to actually issue a notice or whatever. It was just going nowhere and there was no financing to back it up. This is a 1-year trial of what they're trying to accomplish here. So I guess my questions around this are, how involved do we want to be and what do we want that to look like? Would we want that to look like landowners kind of report wells that are on their property, and if there's an issue we could go out, map it, and take those steps to move forward? Or do we actively want to go around and inspect, because there's 511 of them within Stettler County right now? Yeah,
That's just the orphan wells.
yeah. and they're at different stages too. Like some of them have contractors assigned and they are taking care of the weeds. Like not everyone has a problem, obviously, but there's some of them that are just in the background that are kind of unknowns to us, and a lot of the roads have been plowed over and things like that, so we don't even really know they exist, or if the people are having much of a problem, or if they're already swinging over with a boom spraying them. But just moving forward, how much effort and things are we putting to this year? Because I think this is sort of the opportunity to dive in if we are.
Board Member Clark.
This does go back to the mature asset strategy, and the group that we were working with, and weeds and well sites was one of the pieces. A lot of that did come forward with lease renewals, and the LPRT would be involved with the landowners, but there was nowhere for the landowner to go. And it was put back at the landowner. Basically, they're breaking the law by lifting their sprayer booms and spraying over their own property because it was a lease, and whether it was an orphan well lease or not. So a year ago, the same time as the ASB conference was, FARA had put together a weed presentation for the LPRT, which we presented. I presented it with FARA to the LPRT, and it was very well received from them because they understood some of the sites and the pictures and what it could be. But then the mature asset, or actually the provincial government, tried to set up tours on weeds, and they wanted to take the AER out there. And basically, by taking the AER on a weed tour on well sites, they'd have been proving to them that they weren't doing their jobs. So they weren't getting any uptake whatsoever. They were phoning, begging us for sites to basically have along Highway 2 corridor for people to look at. So they took a bunch of the government folks out and looked at these well sites, and that's when this thing all kind of kicked in, because the landowners really had nowhere to go. So ASB came into our local ASBs came into the equation, to the fact that knowing weeds, knowing noxious weeds, knowing landowners, if the landowners could contact us, or if we're going past a spot and notice something and it is a well site, that would be that conversation. It wasn't just supposed to stop at orphan well funds. It was supposed to also be to the ones that weren't paying their current surface rights and those pieces too, and just were proven to be poor very, very regulated poor operators. So I think that it's going to be another communication thing. If people have orphan wells on their sites, we have to get that out there, that they can contact us. It may take a trip. We're going to have to visit some of those sites, I'm sure, to look at the full extent before it's reported in, or however the spraying's lined up and stuff, Rob. So it was to try and get a control of it, because it is weeds within our areas, regardless of where they're at. And there was just kind of nowhere to go for the producers at that point, other than basically breaking the law, and is what we were talking about the last time, and us kind of turning and saying don't do it, but that's how you control it. So
Board Member Hunter.
Yeah, and I think we might run into more of a problem here, because I know just on some of my stuff that I basically had to backpack and go spray all my leases because they weren't getting sprayed. And now with companies shutting down here in June, and they're shutting everything down, like nothing's going to be checked, or no operators are going to be out there. So I don't know what their schedule is, if they're going to still hire weeds, but like, how do we handle that? Like, it's just on my place, if those aren't getting sprayed now, do I, Ember's not going to do it. Now, do I just do it myself again? You're saying that's illegal?
There should be some way that you can get reimbursed, Wade.
yeah, there should be a vet, but it really
Yeah.
wasn't in the pictures. It was touching anything on a well site. Even if they aren't paying the lease, they still have that legal right on that well site, whatever's put on that lease, eh? So it's a real convoluted BS story, but that was the thing with the people spraying. And then from a liability basis, if they happened to hit a hole and tipped, and didn't tip their unit over, but dipped down and hit their booms and wreck something, then it was going to be a bigger picture. Backpack sprayer doesn't quite take the same dangers in.
But Ember's
Yeah.
not. Let's go ahead, vet.
Well, I was just wondering, we can issue a weed notice. We've had great luck with that with Alberta Transportation. Most of the time we go out and spray them, but then we do get reimbursed. I'm wondering if, because they have told us that anybody who isn't getting their land lease is paid or maintenance isn't being done, like if the site's a mess and you report it to the LPRT, you will be reimbursed for any costs that you incurred. It just takes forever for you to get the money back, from what I understand. I'm wondering if this, Rob, maybe we should do some investigation. If we issued a weed notice, if that would help the landowner get reimbursed, and who would we issue the weed notice to? The landowner or the oil company and the LPRT? Or the AER? That's the question.
Board Member Clark.
It's just about, I just want to throw in another mix into this, is they're supposed to be enacting the surface rights group. So are the surface rights. So I don't know if it's going to be LPRT or I don't know if it's going to be Alberta surface rights who would be doing this. So it might be hard to direct people where to go, but the weed notice, like especially on leases that are going to be shut in go forward, I
Yeah.
think that would be the proper step, is to get the weed notices in there. The only problem is that window. And if somebody does spray it, take it upon themselves and spray it, well, at least like you said, they should be reimbursed for it or not be held for it because they're trying to maintain weeds. But they're good. They're supposed to reintroduce that group because they felt it worked better with the landowners. So I don't know where that stands right now.
Well, you know what it's like to get anything out of the AER, it just never happens.
Rob.
Yeah, so like we discussed, and obviously a weed notice is the kind of appropriate action there to actually get it moving forward. But my concern with this right now being a bit of a pilot project is like, where does the money come from? Like if I issue a notice, I sort of have to follow through on it. Is it something that I would go out and spray? Like I'd almost feel more comfortable if the county did it. And the reason being is that if I got Joe the contractor to go out and do it and he's not going to get paid, or it's going to take 2 years for them to get compensated, like especially a lot of these guys are just small businesses that would be moving forward and actually have the training and insurance and everything to go on that site and do it. Because if I issue a notice, you still can't just go out there and do it yourself. You have to hire somebody, appropriately ticketed and insured to actually do that. And I don't know how easily this money will be accessed. It sounds good on paper. It sounds great, but did they set aside 10 million bucks and we're going to give them 200 million bucks for the spraying across the province? Because we have a number of orphan wells, but there's a lot, especially when you go to the north. There's thousands upon thousands of these things across the province. So I guess we just got to look at like, what would the actual remedial action be from that notice if we were going to follow through?
Board Member Stevens.
Given that it's a pilot project, I think we have to do the weed notice, whether it's to the functioning oil company or the OWA. The pilot project is useless unless we can prove the need that there's a bunch of derelict leases that aren't managing this, and it's our producers that are paying the consequences for that. So I think we have to do weed notices and track how big of an issue that is, or else this pilot project will end after this year. As far as funding, I mean, the OWA, in theory, the LPRT's been paying for OWA leases, but it's grossly underfunded. So once again, documentation is key. If this is a $10 million cost province-wide, just to pick a number at random, well, maybe that's something the province needs to incorporate in the OWA budget moving forward, is another $10 million to manage weeds until they can reclaim these sites. So I think documenting that is key, or else this will never happen again. And as far as hiring other producers, I mean, we lay that out in our weed notice. Follow the same protocol. We give them the opportunity to correct it. If they don't, then we do, and we pass on the cost. I don't think that we need to reinvent the wheel on who does the work. If they're willing to correct it themselves, great. If not, because it's an OWA site, then yeah, chances are you'll have to fill in the gaps.
Rob?
So with that said, if we were to actually go in and spray, probably, like I've just been reviewing some of our fees and things like that. From my perspective, if I had a lease that was covered in weeds, and I could just get a notice and have the county spray at the rates that are currently on the books for the county, I would just let the county do it. I just sit back and drink coffee, and it's the cheapest spraying you're going to get. So I think we'll have to discuss what our rates will be for enforcement moving forward. And it is a topic that was actually going to be probably on the agenda for the next ASB to talk about that before we go into spring. So
Well, on the topic of rates, we've went back and forth on this, and there's mixed feelings on council and previous ASBs about what our rate should be, whether it should be subsidized due to lack of private options for a lot of areas in our county. I think the unanimous support would be the setting 2 tiers for rates. I mean, if we're doing industrial or commercial type spraying, that's not ASB's mandate. That's not what we're supposed to be doing, is helping out heavy industry. If we do through our mandate, great, but that isn't what we should be doing. So I would be fine with bringing in a 2-tiered rate for any industrial type spraying that we have to do. Cause I also don't believe that, this is a burgeoning market and the private contractor steps up, I don't want to be stealing their work. Like, I just assume if someone privately came in and we could back off all private spraying, but that doesn't exist currently. We're just filling the gaps until that exists. And if we have a fair market price, and I use the term fair market as opposed to cost recovery, then it does not eliminate the option of someone privately setting up to fill this gap in the future.
yeah, and in that case, that was kind of along the direction I was thinking with this too. Just when I looked at the numbers, it seemed awfully easy to just have the county do it. So
Okay, so where are we at, Rob? What do you believe you've heard here?
So I'm not sure. As far as like our approach, do we want to advertise for people to like report to us? Is that what we're thinking? Or do we want to get these land locations where these wells are? Like, it's because some of them you won't even see. They're just going to be a dot in a field. There might not even be a wellhead there anymore, some of them, but like, are we actively scouting them or waiting on people to report? I guess that's the big.
Board Member Stevens?
I think putting this out to the public makes all the sense in the world. They know far more about where these locations all are. Lots of them we have no legal access to even do an inspection. So the only inspection can be through the AER or the landowners. We could provide some hotspots where we've received some complaints in the past and some targeted inspections on spots that we know that are an issue, but otherwise I think we advertise and get the public send in for us to investigate.
Board Member Clark?
Yeah, I'm in agreement to that because a lot of them aren't gonna have a road. They're just gonna be a wellhead out or even a spot that hasn't been reclaimed yet. So I do think we need to get the word out, and it's, as always, our communication. How do we ensure we're getting it out to the people that need it? And I guess it will just have to beat every drum that we have. But, and then I think from a billing, if it was a 2-tiered, for that, if we're gonna bill it back to somebody, we have to make it reasonable what commercial rates would be for that. But then if we're collecting back, we're at least getting paid for waiting on our money possibly.
And we are talking orphan wells. So if we communicated, it would be, if you're having an issue with orphan well weeds. No?
That's not how I understand it.
Okay.
It's weed issues on any leases. The weed notice would go to the functioning owner.
I see.
If
Okay.
if there is a functioning lease that is oil company that's still in production. If it is not a functioning company, then the weed notice would go to OWA is how I understand it.
Though, if it's functioning, then the landowner should be having, or could have, a contact there that they would start with, correct?
Well, I mean, if that relationship's good between the landowner and the oil company, and we have a lot of those relationships that are good where, yeah, they talk to each other fairly regularly about everything from lease roads to alternative accesses during muddy season to spraying to fencing. I mean, those sorts of conversations happen all the time. So for those sorts of relationships, we'll never even know that there's an issue. They'll just deal with it between the two of them.
I wonder if we should contact the AER for all the good it would do, and see if they have anything set up to receive some of these complaints, or if they're looking to set something up. Rob, we could, Sharon and I talk to them regularly. We could maybe assist with that.
Sure. Yeah, no, that'd be good. Okay.
It would be nice to ask who the point of contact that we should be dealing with on these weed notices, because there is going to be some.
Oh, there's going to be a lot. And most of them you find when you're out, like if you're moving your cattle from field to field, and all of a sudden you come onto a big patch of weeds.
Okay, Rob, put you on the spot. So what have you heard next steps here?
So we're gonna figure out what the dollars and cents will be for a two-tiered system, advertised to the public, about, different wells on weeds on well sites, specifically the orphan or abandoned ones, but it'll be framed out as all of them. So, and then from there, based on that, that's how we'll do the outreach and actually do the inspections versus just out cruising the county. I think that's what I'm gathering so far. And then figure out who our key contact will be with AER and go from there. I think that's kind of it. So we'll have our fees associated and exactly how we'll roll it out and advertise. So I think that makes
Board Member
sense.
Stevens?
I can put that into a few motions. So, motion number 1, instruct administration to bring back revised spraying rates.
To be clear, two rates, like one for industrial, one for agricultural?
Correct.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Oh, sorry.
Just
Or-
wondering if it could possibly be rephrased as agricultural / residential, because if there's acreages, anybody have acreages sprayed?
Yeah.
We do occasionally get into that. It's not wide scale, but we do some private land spraying. And I touched on this. There's mixed feelings on
Yeah,
previous boards on whether we should, what the cost should be. So my way of avoiding that, because we never did get a consensus, my way of avoiding that was go to that second tier. So
yeah.
we could,
Well, I agree with the second tier. I was just wondering about that, instead of agricultural / rural even, or just use rural as a way to, it's too general.
it's an option. I'm comfortable with Rob bringing back recommended pricing scheme with
Okay.
2 tiers. I'm not sure what the best way to do that. In my mind, the delineation is any private land spraying versus commercial
Yeah.
industrial spraying. And that's sort of how I've delineated it, whether it's, well, they do some of that on small scales, but whether it's for ag, for residential, or for an acreage, in my mind, it really doesn't make a
Okay.
difference.
So am I hearing private versus industrial.
That's how I view
Okay.
it, but I'm open to other opinions. If there's-
Board Member Clark?
And just with our private, as Harry had said, like the residential or the acreage piece, if we roll out this piece on Wormwood again, it'll be a pushback for me, as a lot of these people do not have sprayers. There isn't, once there's commercial ones that want to do small areas like that or agriculture, it's one thing, but just to say that we'll do it that way and then not have us, there's no services available, kind of makes it impossible for people to do it, and they can't even access sprays, et cetera. So I do agree, it needs to, we have to have that differentiation.
Okay. I think we have a motion still on the floor.
Motion is to instruct administration to bring back a revised two-tiered spray pricing.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Next motion is to instruct administration to communicate the path for our residents on how to report weed issues on oil and gas leases.
Any discussion? All in favor? Carried.
And my third motion will be to instruct administration to seek out the point of contact at AER and Orphan Well Association. I do fear that this may get lumped into LPRT as well, but whomever the province decides should be administering it.
Discussion on that motion. Yvette, is that reasonable?
Yes, it is.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. 10.3. Bashaw Recycle Facility Tour. I see we have something given to us.
Yeah, there's a handout there for you guys. I thought the tour was actually was pretty good. They definitely go through some volume. Like they run about 40,000 pounds per day, and their output's about 50% of that actually into usable recycled pellets. So the things we are collecting actually are making a difference. To date, there's a couple things we noted that so from 2021 to 2025, we collected 10,500 kgs of grain bags, and from November 25 to March 2026, we're at about 29,000 kgs so far, which is pretty decent. Twine, we've collected about 1,000 kgs since the start of the program there, so a little lighter on twine, but it's coming. During the tour, there was a little bit of discussion around an extended producer responsibility fee, basically added to the grain bags. So they were looking at an associated fee of maybe it's $75 a bag, $100, whatever it's going to be. They don't know the numbers yet, but to try and help with the recycling of the grain bags. So they'll be looking for feedback on some of that as well. Like they went through some of the provincial consultation, but there'll be some more discussion moving forward. So far, like as far as the numbers, they gave us some interesting numbers that $100 in reduced cost per 1 meter cubed of plastic or whatever. So with what we've collected this year, we've essentially saved our landfill $10,500 in disposal fees. So it's not all for nothing when you do the math and kind of align it. I know we discussed whether we should have fees associated to grain bag collecting, and maybe we'll figure that out as we go. But right now, the numbers actually look a little bit better when you factor in multiple departments that way. So I don't know how much more I have to add to the tour. If anyone has any insights there as to what their takeaways were.
I thought it was a good tour. But it also, when you were talking to the owner, it's obviously a very challenging environment to be doing reclamation in because they've gone through an awful lot of people who've tried their products. It's not the product itself, it's strictly dollars and cents. And he did mention something about if there could be some sort of a directive from the provincial government on using reclaimed product in building new bags, that it would certainly help his business, which of course it would. And I'm just thinking if that was something that maybe the Ag Service Board would want to send a letter in, possibly supporting the idea of having a mandated level of recycled materials in new bags.
Clean Farms, when they spoke to us, uh, that was back to Rob, your earlier point there. What is happening? Is there a resolution or no, maybe it's not so much a resolution, but some activity with government right now in relating to what you said and what Board Member Brooks said?
Yeah, like in October, they're apparently reviewing this EPR strategy and the numbers there, and basically seeing whether it's a viable option to move that forward, because it will add some expense to the farmers buying grain bags and things like that. But they are doing it in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, so it's actually allowed them to, pay out an extra $11-12 a grain bag for collection. So per ton, it goes up to like 66, 67 bucks, whatever it's going to be, to try and just increase the viability of the program. So I think what they were looking for from the Ag Service Boards was maybe a little increased advocacy before that, just to know that, that's the direction we would like to see it go on behalf of our producers. And I'm not 100% sure what the backing is of the producers, but I know if I could pay a fee and it made it more accessible to not have to just burn them in a field or leave them in a pile, it would, whatever we can do to make it easier to recycle these. And if there's funding available and they have to do it like a bottled deposit or however that would be, I think I'm in support of that. And I don't know many farmers or producers that wouldn't be in support of trying to just get it off the farm easier. Because right now, it's a fine line on like cost recovery and where it is. And sure, when we factor in offsetting the expense of the landfill, it does make it a little bit better story. But again, we're funded in a little different way than the landfill as well. So,
Could you, is it reasonable for you to gather a little information around what we could do? Like whether, is it a resolution? Is it
I think
letter of support and report back in a month?
yeah, I think if they were to say no dice, we're not going to do it, then I think that would step it into a resolution in January. But for just advocacy, I think a letter around that, and maybe like I have a pretty good list of producers that have been, getting me to deal with the grain bags. I could reach out to them and see what their feelings are as well behind something like that. So at least we are representative, and then draft up a letter that I think would answer some of those questions or get that out there. So.
Yep.
Okay. Any other further questions on the Bashaw tour? Could I get someone to accept both that verbal and this document for information? Board Member Brooke, any more discussion? All in favor? Carried. All right, I see there's someone in a delegation, I think, Rob, here.
Yeah. Just
I believe. If they're all here, we could probably invite them in.
spot on time. Oh, perfect. Like spot on time wise. So
Yeah.
it's good.
Good day. Good day. I welcome. Do you like introductions?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just yeah, there we go. Yeah. We'll go around the room here. We'll start over at Jared. Go ahead.
Jared Kushner, Manager of IT.
Rob Klatt, Manager of Ag Services.
Harry Brook, member of the Ag Service Board.
Lance Nielsen, member at large.
Justin Stevens, good morning.
Wade Hunter.
Alan Gano.
Michelle Hoover.
Clark,
And online, we have our CAO, Yvette Cassidy.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
And your name and
my name is Essen. I'm the manager at Battle River Research Group. I joined about a year ago. So, yeah. So you have my presentation already pulled out in there.
I'm seeing it on my screen here. Jared, so here I'm not seeing the presentation, but maybe I am seeing it in front of us. We could follow along if that's, I'm not sure. Can he see? Can he?
Yeah, I can see here.
Okay,
That's
well,
okay.
go ahead then.
Yeah.
It's
Okay. Everyone
comfortable.
can see it. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for inviting me here today. Thank you, Robert, for sending an email to give an update. So I'll just provide some updates, like what kind of work we did in 2025. It'll be a short review and what our plan is for 2026. Since we get support from Stettler County, so kind of thinking to do this annually every year to give a quick update to everyone what we are up through and how we are spending those money we get from Stettler County. Mhm.
Not changing. Oh, there it
Okay.
is. Yeah.
Okay, so here's our board of directors. Just so you know, we have about 13 board of directors right now. It's pretty full board. And we have a couple of members from Stettler County as well. Kirk Sorensen is one member who is from Stettler County, and he's been actively, attending our meetings and everything. So he's up to he knows about our stuff and what we are doing. We do about anywhere between 2 to 5 board meetings every year, depending on the business. But usually, if there's not any urgent need, we do 3 to 4, three maximum board meetings every year. So our staff, we are 3 people in total. Myself as I'm manager, and Alex is our field and research coordinator. He has been working with Battle River Research Group from last 4 to 5 years, so he has a lot of experience of doing applied research trials. And then we have Kabir, who is our extension coordinator. He takes care of all extension activities. And then every year, we hire anywhere between 3 to 5 summer field assistants to help us in small plot and on-farm research trials to conduct all the activities throughout the season. So here's just a quick overview what we did in 2025. So our work is divided on 50% research, 50% extension. So on research side, we did 20 applied research trials. 17 were small plot research trials. Most of them are in the Flagstaff County because that's where our office is located in Forestburg. So it's easy for us to take the equipment and do all the small plot research closer to our shop. And then we had 3 on-farm research trials. Out of those, 2 were in Stettler County, 1 was in Pentat County. And then on extension sites, we did about 28 events plus annual field days, so 29 events in total. 14 of those events were in person in different counties, and 14 were online webinars. So So we try to keep it at 50 or 60 to 40% ratio between online and in-person events, because we find that online events, people are more interested in joining because it's easy. So we get bigger audience in online events. So here's just 3 posters from last year, what events we did in Stettler County. These 3 events we did in Stettler County. So every year, if you look at the year 2024, we did 4 events in Stettler County. So every year, based on interest and how producers are looking at what kind of events they want us to arrange, we do anywhere between 3 to 5 events in each county. And we are with Stettler County. We have partnership with Flagstaff, Beaver, and Penrith County as well. So this is just a list of our events with highest attendance. So if you can look at this table, you can see that our annual field day had 51% people in attendance, and that's usually our one of the biggest events in the year, because we show our small plot research trials and everything. So people come on our site and see all the trials in person, so it's more engaging. So we usually get a bigger audience in there. And then second one was winter grazing. It was in Stettler, and we had 40 people. But if you see, all others are online, and generally we get, as I mentioned before, we get bigger audience in our online events since it's easy to attend. So that's why we keep it at 50% ratio to half our online events and half in person. So just a quick overview of research trials we did in Stettler. So we did 2 research trials. It was one was on corn soybean, where we checked fertility by applying different amount of fertilizer on corn soybean intercropping by reducing the nitrogen fertilizer to 70, reducing the nitrogen fertilizer by 30% to see if it had any effect, because soybean is, in theory, is providing extra nitrogen for corn. So we were looking at if we can reduce the use of chemical fertilizer and still maintain soil health and yield. And then second one was on corn, and that was testing tillage and fertility. We had different tillage management practices and different fertility rates in there. Fertility depths in there. And then we tested effect of tillage on soil health and different depths of fertilizer and how it affects soil health. So this is the first trial, just to give you an overview. This trial was conducted on Lance Nelson's field. So here we tested 100% of recommended N rate versus 70%. And then we did soil sampling mid-season and then post-harvest to see the effects. Unfortunately, on these trials, we were not able to take the yield samples last year. But if there is interest to continue these trials, we would be very willing to take yield samples as well this year. And then we have soil data from last year and then compare it, see the correlations, how it is affecting soil health, as well as if it's providing us better yield or not. So the second trial we did was on corn, which was tillage and fertilizer depth. And this is again on same farm it was conducted. And this was on bigger piece of land. It was about, I would say, somewhere close to 90 to 100 acres. And then we had 3 tillage management practices. We looked at no-till, strip-till, and full tillage, and then 3 fertilizer depths. And then we looked at their effects on soil health, as well as their interaction, if there is any interaction between fertilizer depth and tillage management practices. So you can see on that diagram, that's how strips were marked and seeded. And then within each of those no-till, strip-till, and conventional till strips, we had different fertilizer depths, so 4, 6, and 8. So as I mentioned, we were not able to take the yield last year, but we did take a lot of soil samples. We took over 600 soil samples in total, and then we did soil sample analysis on those samples. We took some in mid-season in July, and then some in the post-harvest after the harvest was done. And this list is just showing what was analyzed in those soil samples. So we are basically looking at the whole profile of the soil, like macronutrients, micronutrients, soil organic matter, soil carbon as well, to see the effects on soil health and some other parameters as well. So for 2026, again, we are planning to do small plot research trials as well as continue these on-farm research trials if there is interest. And we will again do, last year we did 20 trials in total. This year we are planning to do more than 20, probably somewhere 22 to 25 trials in total. And then in extension events, we are trying to do it up to 30 at least. And then again, crop production workshops, we'll continue to do those this year. Last year it was in Stettler and we got a good turnout. And then EFP workshops, we will continue to do those as well. And then livestock handling and grazing focused workshops, we have been receiving a lot of comments on doing more livestock handling and grazing focused workshops, because so far I've realized in the past we were focusing a lot on grain farming only and not on livestock side. So we will see if we can do more based on what producer wants us to conduct the workshop for. And then our annual field day will be somewhere in the end of July. We don't have a date decided yet, but it will be end of July, and that happens in Forestburg, near our shop where our sites are. And and I would recommend everyone to join our field day, because on our field day we are also changing this year compared to past. In the past, we were usually inviting other speakers to come on our field day and talk about different topics. But this year we will, our team will talk about the trials we are doing in there. So there will be trials, so you can literally see the treatments and everything and effects in there, and we will discuss those trials in person in there. So it will be more engaging compared to previous field days we had. Other thing we are doing is we are already in process is develop a video library for potential trials. So make some 6 to 8 minutes short videos where we can talk about the whole trial, from the design, from the seeding, all the way to harvest and analysis, and what we found in those trials. We find that we publish all these things in our annual reports, but not everyone has time to read a 150 pages or 100 pages report. So I feel like if we make small short video and show the trial in field, and then take them to the results and show them the results and what we found, I think it will be more engaging, and people like to see rather than read like 10 pages of reports. Other thing we are doing this is a data hub. So we are in plan we have already started actually our trial version. It's a data hub we are developing. So it will be just a small database where we will put all our results of our small plot trials we are doing near Forestburg, and all the data will be there. And hopefully by the next year, our plan, or by the end of this year, our plan is to initiate this data hub on our website. So it will be very user friendly, and anyone can go on our website then and select the year, select the crop they are interested in, and select the trial name. And then you can see all the results within few seconds in there. So you will see the graphs, you will see the conclusion, what the trial was testing. So it's easy. Then, like I mentioned, people don't read always annual reports fully. So this way it will be an interactive data hub portal where you can access all of our data and results and make decisions based on that. And we have already started this. We are testing it right now internally. Our plan is to, by the fall this year, to give give the access to specific people or just to the counties only, few people from each county, so they can give us feedbacks and everything, so we can improve it and make it running for everyone on our website by next year, hopefully. And again, these are all our sponsors. Thank you to our sponsors, including Stettler County. And without these all sponsors, we won't be able to do any of this work we are doing. And thank you very much. And as for the results, I didn't show a lot of results from our research trials. Well, one thing is we haven't published our annual report for 2025 yet. We are a little bit behind, but I assure you that we are doing it because so we can publish more comprehensive results compared to the past. In the past, it was in our annual reports, it was usually just big tables, which not anybody can understand or not everyone has time to look at all those numbers. So this year, our annual report will be published in next 2 to 3 weeks, and it will be more comprehensive. There will be graphs and everything, and results from the research trials will be more comprehensive for everyone to understand and get all the information they can. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. And I'm open to any questions or any concerns or any comments.
Board Member Brooke.
Just wondering how come the results from the 2 silage trials in the county, how come they weren't collected?
Sorry?
I was
You-
wondering, the yield trials on the corn silage and the corn soybeans, how come they weren't collected?
How they were collected?
No, how come they weren't
How
collected?
they weren't collected? Yeah. Well, there were a few things. One of the biggest concern for us was it was basically funding. We ran out of money, and that was one of the concerns. And other concern was because we don't have anything to harvest corn. And then as I mentioned, in the Berg in the past was more focused on grain farming most of the time. So we didn't have any corn trials. If you look at the past 4 or 5 years, you'll see there are no trials regarding corn. So this was first year we were kind of getting into it. So it was like time, I would say time wasn't a constraint, but more of a funding and, traveling back and forth. But this year we have a plan to take the yield. If Lance is, willing to continue this trial, we would be very interested to continue. And this year we have a plan to, make small quadrats and then cut the corn by hand and then take it up and measure that amount we are taking in and then take the yield like that.
Board Member Nielsen.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. We end up getting a frost right before silage chopping. So we do have data from the silage chopper, yield heat map data, but yeah, it's difficult, right? The amount of the cost of the equipment to take yield data on silage chopping on large scale is very expensive. So that would be the biggest reason.
Are you able to speak to your funding stream?
Sorry?
Your funding stream, where does it come from? And maybe
So-
there's a slide that, is it your partners?
So our funding overall, I don't have a graph here, but I can definitely share with Robert. And our 60 to 70% funding comes from RDAR. So it's through Alberta Ag. And 60 to 70%, that's our base funding. So we get that funding so we can run our operations. And we get it every year.
So that's the 60 to 70% comes from the provincial government,
Yes.
and then from?
And then rest of it, like 30 to 40% comes from the counties. And then we have industrial trials. We also do some industry trials. So, if industry people are trying to test their products, they come to us, we do trials for them on fee for service. And so I would say roughly 5 to 10% comes from industry trials and 10 to 15% comes from all the counties.
Okay. And which counties? Paint Earth?
Pentearth,
Yep.
Pentearth, Stettler, Beaver, and then Flagstaff.
Okay, 4 counties.
Yes.
So 4 counties provide that 10 to 15%?
Yes.
Is Wainwright still a member?
So Wainwright is not a member, but this year they just joined us on a pilot program. So we have an agreement, contract agreement with them this year. We are doing some webinars for them, specific webinars. They were just interested in webinars. They didn't want to do anything else. So it was like a 1-year program. So we will see if it goes through, and if they like it, they'll probably stay next year as well.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation. It was useful, and we'll have some decisions to make going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll go back to 11.1 or 11. We have a number of pieces of correspondence that we received. Rob, are you going to speak to each, or should I just ask if?
If there's questions on any of them, we can address them. Otherwise,
Were there any questions on the correspondence from page 29 to 36? Board Member Clark.
I'll move them or
Well,
accept for information.
Sorry, I did
Okay.
have one question.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll still accept for information.
Yeah, yes, yeah. We'll accept. We have a motion on the floor to accept for information. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. I had one question about Bill 26. Do those changes, will they have impact to the county?
it doesn't look like in the interim that there should be much of an impact to us. Anything that would be, if there was some kind of outbreak or whatever that way, but otherwise it shouldn't really affect us on any kind of grand scale.
Thank you. All right. 12.1, year-to-date update on finance.
Yeah, the only thing, I guess, on the finance side of things is I will be bringing forward some budget changes based on price of fuel. We're looking to increase that by about $10,000 just because fuel is $2 a liter. And then again, with the strychnine purchases, if we can actually hit those target numbers based on historically what we doled out and what we'd collected, that's right around 100,000 is where we would be for that. And then otherwise, everything else is pretty well on track. So we're not looking to make any amendments or changes beyond that.
So with regarding strychnine,
Yep.
The county has not charged for strychnine in
Nope.
the past?
No, we do. It's just the thing is we have to allocate some money to actually purchase the strychnine, and then there'll be an offsetting account as we collect fees for whatever. And it's just basically should one will offset the other, but it's got to be on there. So.
And so it's really, if we suggest that's offsetting, it's 10,000 on a budget of
Our
750?
for fuel in
Yes.
our fuel budget for spraying in our operations right now is around 30,000, and so we'll be upping it to 40 is what we're looking at for fuel. So.
All right. Any other discussion? I could have someone accept that report. Board Member Brooke. All in favor? Carried. Workshops and events, 13.1. Was there anything regarding the tour you wanted to bring forward?
No, everything's pretty well just planned with the hotels and things like that. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any in-camera session today?
No, we discussed potential for one, but the information that I got back was extremely limited. So in May, they assured me I'd have a little more of an update on the details there. So.
Okay. 15, the next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, May 20th at 10 a.m. here. Does anyone want to move that date, I guess? We don't need to, thank you. Okay, so we're planning for that date. Any concerns? Okay. Then I will accept a motion to adjourn. Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you all. See you.